To Trump Republican News, this is Jack Easum speaking. Well, Trump Republican News is quite busy right now because there's all kinds of information coming in across the country as to what is going on for the 2018 midterm elections. So I think the best starting point is to take a look at the presidential election that took place in 2016. If you look at the map on this show, on the video, you'll see a multicolored map that shows blue and red all across the country, including Alaska and Hawaii, by county. And each single county is important because that's where the votes get counted. Let me repeat that. Every county or its equivalent are where the votes get counted. Very critical when you start talking about election fraud and voter fraud. But if you take a look at this map, you'll see, wow, just how much red and how much blue is out there. Red meaning that Trump got the vote, blue meaning that the Democrats got the vote. And most of the blue color on the map is, well, it's centered on major urban areas, cities, if you will, particularly along the West Coast. But the rest of the country, in terms of geography, it's huge, huge voting for President Trump during that election. Okay, so if we take a look at this map and we try to look forward to what's going to happen in 2018, and then later what's going to happen in 2020. It will come down to the counties. Once again, it will always come down to the counties and how people vote in those counties. Now, the jurisdictions, the counties, and then the congressional districts for the federal are made up of certain lines that are gerrymandered basically by state to try to include as many of the either Democrats or Republicans in order to get the incumbents reelected. That's why it's usually so difficult to get an incumbent out of power. But, you know, there's a change happening in Washington, D.C. I don't know if it's just draining the swamp or people are tired of it, but I think to a large extent a lot of them are simply getting scared, particularly those that have, you know, they've done something wrong in their background. Some are just, you know, they want to get out of it before it gets any worse for them, and until the pressure gets too bad. So notice the electoral map, and we're going to take a look in Southern California to start with. The other day it was announced that California Republican Issa is going to retire, and he won't be running again. He narrowly won in 2016. He was very close. Now, his district is located on the West Coast, from a small town in Orange County, Dana Point, all the way down towards San Diego County and then a bit inland. So that's where his votes are. And he, in 2016, he only won by 0.5% margin of victory over Democrat Doug Applegate. I didn't say 5%, I said 0.5% margin, which is very, very narrow. And for those of you that don't know, California has become an incredible Democrat stronghold. And there are all kinds of issues with the elections in terms of who votes. For example, if you go down to the California Department of Motor Vehicles to get your new license, you present, you know, who you are. And if you want to register to vote, you just check a box. And congratulations, you're registered to vote. Doesn't matter if you're a U.S. citizen. Doesn't matter if you're a felon. You get registered to vote. Now, this is based on California state law that was passed in 2014, I believe it was, where anyone who came here illegally can still get a license. which made sense because you have to have a license in order to have insurance. So the insurance companies benefited, but so do those people that get in accidents with illegal immigrants. So there's an issue of Democrat, and oddly enough, all the illegals that vote, they seem to vote Democratic. Now, there are some rumors that a lot of those people don't even know they're registered to vote, or if they are, they have friends in the community that will help them vote and show them how to vote, or have others do the voting for them. Of course, they're not U.S. citizens, so they shouldn't be voting. But the laws are like a slap on the wrist if you do something like that illegally. And if you go before a judge who's a Democrat and who's basically an employee of the state of California, it's not going to go anywhere. So anyway, Issa is not going to run. I want to say one thing about him because I've met him. He was a conservative back in, when he first started out. And he's also a very wealthy man. I believe he might still be the richest man in Congress. But he had a technology security company that he had built that had devices and products and things like that before he ran. And for the most part, people have always thought he did a pretty good job, although there have been things more recently. So anyway, that district is open. And one of the political prognosticators or pollsters, a guy named Sabato at the University of Virginia, he has said that that district is a toss-up, was a toss-up at one time, but now it's going to lean toward a Democrat winning. So Trump Republicans, take a look down in that district and see who you can have as a candidate to help win that as this next time goes around. The other congressman that has announced that he won't be running again, he's going to retire, is a gentleman named Ed Royce, who I have had the pleasure to have met a number of times years ago. And he announced his retirement last Monday. And now that race, it moved from, leaning Republican to a toss-up. He's more in the Los Angeles area, where and Democratic power is quite high there. So it wouldn't be surprising if a Democrat was able to win that. So Trump Republicans, we've got a heck of a job going just to do some work in California. But let's go to Arizona. Arizona's nearby, but wow, what a wild place that can be, huh? Yeah, it's just like Tombstone, Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, and the gang. Well, there's a Senate race going because Senator Jeff Flake, a non-Trump supporter, and who continues to be that way, is retiring. It's not going to be running. And there are a number of candidates that have announced on the Republican side. One, of course, is Sheriff Arpaio, who was the sheriff that got pardoned by President Trump when there was some sentence conviction against him for enforcing the law. So anyway, he's running. He's in his 80s, and he's very pro-Trump, so I would consider him to be a Trump Republican. But in addition, Kelly is running. And Kelly, well, I don't want to say this too much because she was very close to winning previously. But let me say this first. There is a congresswoman named McSally that has announced, Martha McSally, and she's an establishment Republican. She wouldn't support or endorse Trump during the 2016 from the information I've read. I've never met her. She's a retired Air Force colonel and first female to fly a combat mission. And, she's trying to appeal to the Trump folks. She's 51 years old, and it's going to be quite a primary. Kelly Ward is who I was thinking of earlier, former state senator. And Kelly Ward is an outspoken Trump advocate who would be a great person for Trump Republicans to help, as well as the sheriff. But that race is going to be rough because you have an incumbent that's an establishment. She's got GOP endorsement from Washington, D.C., which means there's going to be money pouring in. And she's a sitting congresswoman. So it's going to be it's going to be a tough race there for the Senate in Arizona. So, if you take another look at the map I had shown you on the 2016 Electoral College and across America, you can see how the states, voted in terms of electoral votes for Donald Trump or for Hillary Clinton. Arizona went very much in favor of Trump, but it was only by a 5% margin. Again, I don't know all the rules in Arizona, but there are a lot of illegal immigrants that are there, undocumented and unqualified to vote in an election. And I know that there was a very strong campaign to get out the Latina and Latino vote. And maybe, or maybe not, it included some of the people that really weren't qualified to vote. But that's how it's shaping up. So much information is coming in on all of these races. And as we go along with TrumpRepublican.news, we're going to have these maps on our website, interactive maps, so you can kind of take a look at what's going on. And wherever you have are residing or vote, and where you have boots on the ground, I'd like you to take a look at the maps at TrumpRepublican.news, TrumpRepublican.news, and make your own judgment as to who and what are the kinds of candidates that you would like to support as a Trump Republican. And if you haven't done it already, you should go to TrumpRepublican.news and join our Trump Republican volunteers and sign up also for the website updates so you get all the information on what's going on and the activities that we have planned. We're going to be a very busy organization helping Donald Trump as president to implement his agenda that he promised he was going to do. And it would be nice if we could elect some really good Trump Republicans in there. So with that, until we meet again, I'd just like to say, as President Trump says, keep moving forward, never, ever give up.